Greetings, Bat Family, and welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Make sure you visit our website, holybatcast.com, or find us on social media. On Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube, just search for Holy BatCast, you will find us. If you love the show, you want to help support it, you can do that through Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. As always, a big thank you to our patrons. You guys are amazing. You make our lives easier and better, so a big thank you to everybody who's already done that. For those of you who haven't, I get it. There are other things that require your time and resources, but it is definitely appreciated for those of you who have. So again, you can do that at patreon.com/holybatcast. We're part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. If you want to check out all of those shows, you can check them out at rf4rm.com. And as always, I'm Andy DiGenova. You can follow me on Twitter or on Instagram. It's just my name, Andy DiGenova. This episode, mostly, we're going to be discussing the recent DC animated film Justice Society World War II. Before we do that, though, we got a little photo I think we need to discuss, and we're going to review the next episode of Batman Beyond. It's a chock-full episode. We got so much to do. Joining me for all this is my Bat pal. It's Jamie Drewley. Hey, Jamie.
We're running a variety show here, it seems.
Happy Sunday morning.
Yeah. Good times. Sun's out. It's freezing cold outside. You've got tornadoes around you or something? And
I have storms with potential tornadoes. And a very large bird that likes to live in our front yard now, which is kind of fun.
What kind of bird is it?
I don't know.
Is it like pelican large?
No, it's more like a crane. So we've taken to calling him Ichabod.
Excellent. Well done.
Yeah, but yeah, he just hangs out often in front of our house, but if not, within the block. He's just always out there. And so you might even hear him. I just heard him a second ago just making his weird bird sounds. But yeah, he's our neighbor now, I guess. And he's very unafraid. I went out for a walk yesterday, and I was probably within 4 feet of him. And he doesn't care.
Fascinating.
Yep. Got no F's to give. Welcome to Florida. Better that than a gator, though.
Fair point. Yeah, the closest we come to that is periodically a turkey roams around the yards of our neighborhood.
Oh, that's fun.
It's unique. The neighborhood association has like a Facebook group, and every time there's a sighting of the turkey, everybody gets all excited. I'm like, same turkey that's been running around here for 5 years and counting, but okay.
He's part of the neighborhood. Embrace him.
Yeah, we do.
Welcome him to the neighborhood with a casserole.
We just had 6 deer run through the backyard this morning too, so.
That's very, very Indiana.
It's like Mutual of Omaha, but not nearly as exotic.
Oh, cool. Awesome. Well, before we get to the animated film, we had some news just a couple of days ago, and I thought it was worth a mention. I did wonder, is there enough Batgirl news to just do the episode on that? But not really. It's really just the photo. There have also been some set photos that have given us a couple little tidbits, but for the most part, it was the big reveal of Batgirl, and I don't know if we can do that for an hour. We could try. We could try, but I just don't know if that was going to happen.
Of course, most of the hour would be spent of me chastising people for saying how ugly that photo is, because I don't agree.
I don't get it. Well, so, okay, before we get to the Batgirl costume, though, there have been a lot of set photos. They are shooting in earnest. There's a lot of stuff going on out there, and some really fun stuff. So there's some nice Easter eggs, especially in the set that we're seeing of Gotham City. It's definitely winter. It's definitely Christmas time. And there are Easter eggs and references to the greater DC universe on the set of Black Canary. Or excuse me, look at that. That was a Freudian slip. On the set of Batgirl, including Easter eggs for Black Canary. That's what I was going for. So there are Easter eggs for Batman, Robin, Black Canary, and even a couple other little things. So I don't know how much you've been paying attention or how much you've seen. Most of what I've seen is on Twitter, which I know you've been staying away from. But I
pretty much at this point am only seeing the stuff that you and Brendan drop into the little three-way chat we've got going on the Messenger. But
yeah,
I'm oblivious other than that.
Well, again, right now it's a lot of set dressing on the streets of Gotham. and it's posters, artwork, graffiti, stuff like that. And it includes, again, like I said, Batman, Robin, Black Canary are the biggies, and then there have been a couple other little things here and there. But yeah, I wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, first things first, you guys shared the photo or you had a conversation about the mural, which was the big buzz a few days ago. And I went and searched it out, and I'm like, okay, that's cool. You know, we knew Batman was going to be involved in some capacity in the film. But then Brendan's like, you know, and Robin. I'm like, Robin? He's like, Robin. I'm like, where's their Robin? He's like, did you look at the mural? I'm like, yeah, I looked at the mural. He's like, he's right there. So then somebody, you or him, I think it was him, put the full picture in, because the picture I saw was, for some unknown reason, just cropped to show Batman. It didn't show to the right of Batman. So.
Oh.
Yeah. So, you know, I saw the Robin on the mural, and I thought, oh, wow, that's kind of cool. I wonder how that's going to play in. So, you know, it provides more questions than answers, but, you know, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, of course we can often get ahead of ourselves and go, it means this, and it means this, and it means this. And who really knows, you know, like we won't know until we actually see the film. It could just be an Easter egg, you know, it doesn't mean it's a plot point. It doesn't mean any characters are showing up or not showing up. But I love that it's there. I just love that this is a Gotham City that is embracing the entire mythology of Batman. I love the look of Batman in there. I love the reference to Robin. I like that there was a Robin out there somewhere. You know, I've been screaming for a big screen Robin forever, and I'm still not holding my breath in Batgirl, but I'll take any nods to Robin I can take. So yeah, the mural is really badass. There was some very sharp-eyed fans who found the original images that were used to create the mural. So the Batman was a statue, and Robin, it was one of the variant covers for that Robin 80th anniversary special.
Okay.
But that's super cool. And then there, you know, as we mentioned on the last episode, there are rumors that Black Canary is going to show up in here, and it's Journey Smollett Bell, and it's setting her up for her own solo movie. Possibly her also appearing in The Flash, who knows? But the fact that there is Black Canary stuff on the streets of Gotham is a very good indication that might pan out. So that's very promising too.
So I didn't see any of that. So what stuff are we talking about here for people like me who hide under rocks?
It's literally just like posters on the streets of Gotham that's like Black Canary, and it has like her silhouette and stuff and some artwork. So it's almost as if she's still a singer, and these posters are, you know, promoting her doing singing gigs and things like that.
Oh, so they're almost kind of going the Dazzler route with it.
I think so. I mean, think about how she was set up in Birds of Prey. Makes sense.
Yeah. All right, I'm for it. I liked her a lot, so.
Well, I mean, and I think we've said that, and a lot of fans have said that, is she was great in Birds of Prey, in my opinion, but we all were like, we just wanted more of her. I think that was the biggest complaint, is she was great, just more. And even when Birds of Prey sort of underperformed, a lot of folks were like, oh man, like, I would like to see more of all of them. I'd like to see more Huntress. I'd like to see more Black Canary. But Black Canary, I felt like, got the most support from the fan community. So it's nice that they did find a way to bring her back, and maybe we'll be seeing her as early as The Flash and then Batgirl. Again, it's all rumor, nothing confirmed, but we'll see.
So the Robin thing, you of course mentioned how fans, their brains get to working on different theories and ideas and everything else. So I'm going to share mine, and I'm going to say right off the bat, I hope I'm wrong, because it's not what I want. But what if this Batman had a Robin, the Robin was killed? I doubt we're going to get into the whole, there's been 5 Robins at this point, so I'm betting if they do, it would be Dick Grayson. So, you know, the Robin was killed in action, Batman decided to stay solo forever, and then that's kind of a point of contention between him and Batgirl in this movie, is him taking on another, quote, protege, if you will. That seems logical enough to, you know, just kind of open that door between the relationship of Batman and Batgirl. But it's a dead Robin is not what I want, unless it's Jason Todd, at which point you're getting into too much information for people who haven't been following the universe for very long.
Well, First of all, I will respectfully disagree with everyone who says that, oh, it's too complicated to mention there's more than one Robin, so let's just kill Dick Grayson. I don't agree with that at all. It's really easy to say, oh, the second Robin, he was killed in battle. That's it. You get it. There were two. Got it.
Okay. All right.
It can be that simple. And you really, I mean, it's obvious you're not paying attention to Twitter, because there have been a lot of swirl this week about, because of this mural, certain scoopers have gone, oh, yeah, I heard that Dick Grayson's actually in the movie.
Oh.
I feel like it's just, it's awful opportunistic because of this mural leak of people being like, oh, crap, I can get traction from this, so let me say there's a rumor that he's in it. That's all I'm taking it as right now, just because I have no trust or faith in scoopers, because it's not about being right. It's about getting the traffic. So I feel like they're just sort of using this as a way to do that. But because of that, then fans are saying, oh, it might be this. It might be this. Like, yes, Dick Grayson's going to be in it. And I'm not putting the cart before the horse as far as that goes. But yes, there's a lot of swirl that Dick Grayson was Robin. He's now grown, and he will make an appearance in some way.
Okay.
I don't know. That's all just speculation and rumor.
I'd tell you that it does put me at a disadvantage not being on social media, but
I think the benefits outweigh
after the fights I had with football people yesterday during the playoff games. I really do appreciate not having that much exposure to social media anymore. So,
well, I count your blessings, because I'll tell you, when they revealed Leslie Grace in costume, so there had been shots of her on set, mostly just in. There was some GCPD stuff she was wearing, and then, like the big coat where she was obviously covering up what she was wearing, which was probably the Batgirl outfit. So there had been shots of her like that, and a lot of folks were like, hey guys, get ahead of this, release the photo, because we've been seeing way too much of the set. You guys are shooting out in the open, and we don't want our first look at Batgirl to be a spy photo. And this time they listened. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, but this time they listened. And so they released that photo of Leslie Grace as Batgirl, and I immediately tweeted it out with my feelings, which is, she looks great. She looks amazing. And a lot of people agreed with me, and a lot of people didn't. And then, yeah, because of that, and because I managed to get on it really early, it was like I saw it, and I immediately shared it. And it took a few minutes for everyone else to sort of catch up. So it was one of those where I was actually like really on it. And because of that, it got a little more traction than my tweets usually do. And the problem with that is then there's all these strangers I've never heard of coming at me telling me how bad the costume looks. And I was like, to quote Jack Nicholson's Jack Napier, I didn't ask. So anyway, that's what I'm saying, is at least you don't have to deal with that. Of like these random people just being like, you're stupid, it looks awful. I'm like, nah, well, that's just like your opinion, man.
Yeah. I'll just throw in on mine. I saw the photo. You shared it you or Brendan. I can't tell you two apart. You're the same person to me now.
Same difference.
Yeah, exactly. One of you talks funny, one of you doesn't. So one of you shared the photo in our little group chat thing, and I looked at it and I was like, holy crap, that's really good. I like that a lot. And I, kind of zoomed in on it. I'm looking at detail and everything. And then I wound up seeing that you or somebody else posted it in the Facebook group. And Joe Forno said, hey, if you look at the uncropped image, you can even see her boots. I'm like, okay. So I started scanning through that, and I have no disappointment with anything that I'm seeing here. I will say this much. It's clearly copied after the pattern and design of what is known as the Burnside outfit, which is not my favorite Batgirl outfit, but it's the one that makes the most practical sense for them to use, because it's not over-sexualized. It's easy enough to put together. It's easy enough to make it look like something that somebody could piece together themselves. But to me, it's not ugly. Even though I don't really like the Burnside costume, I think this looks even better than any other version of that costume that I've seen, because of the way the lighting is in the picture or the material used or whatever else. it pops more. It's not as drab for some reason. And frankly, I think it's fantastic. I don't have any disappointment with it whatsoever.
Yeah, me either. I saw it and I was like, oh, great. I don't want to use the word perfect because I wouldn't quite call it perfect, but I was like, no, it looks great. This is awesome. And that's what I shared it. I'm like, oh man, this is awesome. I'm so happy with it. And again, initially that seemed to be the reaction. And then of course, you give it a few minutes and the tide starts to turn. But from what I have seen, and I've seen actually quite a bit, it seems about 50-50. It seems like 50% love it, 50% hate it, because God forbid anyone's in the middle. It's not how the internet works. But I love it. I think it's awesome. Like, it looks like Batgirl. That's what I want it to look like. I love that it's purple and yellow. It is definitely the Burnside costume, as you said. I have no problem with that, because it's funny, when the Burnside costume originally was debuted for the comics, a lot of people were like, oh my God, Batgirl's new look. And I was like, sure, but it's still pretty traditionally Batgirl. It's just a little... it's tweaked, but it's unmistakably her. So it's not like it was. I never saw it as this big, massive overhaul that it seemed like the comics seemed to think. So it makes sense to use that as the basis. But I think the cowl looks awesome. Again, I love the colors. It's Burnside and Batgirl 66, and I think she looks awesome. Like the yellow cape. The thing I would say I wouldn't quite call it perfect is just sort of the leathery texture on the body is just maybe a little too busy, and so it just looks a little too leather jackety. But that's a minor quibble over what I think looks like a really great and functional costume. So I was very happy. I was like, yeah, she looks awesome. Like, she looks great. She's got red hair. She looks like Barbara Gordon. The costume looks like Batgirl. The cowl is great. I was happy. So it's funny because I was like, no, this is great. And a lot of folks didn't like it. And then now you've got the whole group of folks who were like, well, it's just her first one, which is such, has become just the go-to excuse for anything, any design of, it's just the first look, it'll get upgraded, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, maybe that is true. It's certainly possible, because the speculation is that, yeah, this is the one that she makes for herself, and then she meets up with Batman at a certain point, gets upgraded, and that's cool if that's what happens. But here's the thing, if that doesn't happen, I'm still not going to be mad, because I love the suit. So I'm totally happy with it.
Well, given the Batman that she's working with in this film, I don't want him to upgrade her to his outfit turned into Batgirl. Mm-hmm. I would much rather see this outfit than I would the Batman 89 and 2022 outfit for a woman. That's not really what I'm.
Well, we essentially got that in 1997.
Right. And, for all the many issues I have with that film, the Batgirl costume wasn't one of them. I actually kind of liked it. But I like this one better because it just seems more Batgirly to me. And I don't say that in any kind of detrimental way. I think it's a great thing. But
yeah.
Two things I want to address, because, in the brief bit of scanning that I did through the images, of course, my curiosity always gets the best of me. Someday I swear I have to learn, but I went to the comment section. Why can't I learn, Andy?
Why would you do that?
Section? Why do I do it? I left Twitter so I didn't have to see crap like this. Anyway, the chief complaints I'm seeing are, what was the one? It looks like a CW costume, or a costume from one of the CW shows. You know what I got to say to that? Good, because I like the costumes on those shows. For any of the problems I have with those shows, the costumes aren't any of them.
Yeah.
And the other one was, it looks like cosplay. You know what I got to say to that? Good, for two reasons. Number one, because this girl probably made this outfit herself in the context of the film, so it probably should have something of a look like something that somebody could piece together themselves. And two, good, because there's a lot of really great cosplayers out there that I think do fantastic work. So I don't know why there's issues here, but that's me.
Well, I know. I agree with you. To your point, those two criticisms don't really hold a lot of water, because the CW has designed and created a lot of great superhero costumes. So looks like the CW. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, they didn't make a Supergirl and a Batwoman that looked like they came just right up off the page or anything.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And yeah, and the same thing. It looks like cosplay. It's just that just feels like such like a low hanging fruit thing where it's like, yeah, but there's a lot of amazing cosplay that oftentimes you same fans use to go, oh, why can't it look like this? So,
Exactly. I've seen cosplayers do it better than movie studios, for crying out loud.
yeah. So again, I mean, everyone's gonna have their opinion, and that's fine. I think she looks great. Everything I'm seeing coming out of this looks great. I am so excited about this movie. I love how it's embracing the world. I love how it's embracing her comic book roots. I can't wait to see more. I can't wait to see some things that are official.
Really be sinking into the Christmas thing here.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So I'm psyched for this movie, and this reveal just made me more excited. I'm like, no, nailed it. I'm so happy with how she looks. So,
and I did finally see In the Heights, and I was watching it, and I was like, okay, so the lead girl in this movie is Batgirl, and of course, you know me, I don't pay attention to nearly enough detail before or after in a lot of cases. So it gets to the point where that girl walks in the coffee shop, and she's kind of having the back and forth musical bit with the Uznavi.
Uznavi.
I was like, oh, she's great. I like her a lot. And then I find out, oh, that's not her.
That's not her. She was the block of wood who was in the new Scream movie.
Oh, was that her?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's much better in the Heights.
I thought she was fine in both. I know you and I don't really agree on the new Scream movie.
When Scream was over, I turned to Catherine. I was like, oof, that lead. And Hunter turns to his girlfriend, Raina, and says exactly the same thing. And then I turned to Hunter. I was like, man, Sam almost pulled the whole thing down. And Hunter and Raina start laughing like that's exactly what we were just talking about.
I don't think she was the best, but I think she was fine. But anyway, then as I was watching the film, the actual Leslie Grace showed up, and I was like, oh, she's really good too. So, I'm good with it. She seems to be a very good actress. She seems to be very talented. She's lovely. So, I'm certainly looking forward to that. I got to tell you, at this point, the Christmas theming, that costume reveal, the cast, the involvement of Batman, and all these other potential characters involved. I think this might be my number one anticipated DC movie right now.
Wow.
But, Batgirl is my second favorite behind Batman in the Bat family. So this excites me just on the premise alone. But everything that I'm seeing is pointing in directions that make me just smile and perk up. So
I agree. I feel exactly the same way. It's
no disrespect to Flash or Aquaman 2 or Shazam 2 or Black Adam, any of the other ones. I really want to see all these films, but I want to see this one before I see any of the other ones. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't quite put it there yet, but again, everything I've seen has gotten me really excited. I really can't wait for it. And I think as I start seeing more official things, that's only going to increase my excitement. But yeah, it looks really great. I have seen quite a bit of like, well, then release it theatrically. And I do get that, and I support that. I think that the struggle is what we talked about on our year-end wrap-up, which is there are 5 theatrical DC films this year, which is amazing. And so the option, especially because this is a Christmas movie, is you either release it, you find some slot in 23 to release it, where now, like Batman Returns, it's a Christmas movie that's released not at Christmas, or you wait a whole nother year to release it, which I just don't see them doing. So I understand kind of where they're stuck there. So I would also love to see it in the theater, but I also understand no, they want to release it end of year on HBO Max and really drive people there. And again, seasonally, it'll be appropriate. They release it in December of this year, and you've got a big budget, lots of eyeballs wanting to see this Batgirl Christmas movie on HBO Max. It's going to drive a lot of people there. So even though I do understand and even agree with people who'd love to see it theatrical, I also understand why it would be on HBO Max still.
And financially, I don't think there's any disadvantage to it. The people wanting the representation in a movie house, I sort of get that. The people being excited about Blue Beetle getting moved to theatrical versus just a digital release. I get that because of it's sort of is monumentous the right word to use in that case? But, we've had, and this is going to sound like I'm being disrespectful, and it's not my intention at all. We've had female-led superheroes to this point. Female-led superhero movies to this point, so that part of the sizzle has maybe not as much panache as being the first Hispanic-led superhero movie or something along those lines.
Well, in this case, this would also be Hispanic-led.
Well, that's true. That's true. But
I mean, it's not just about that. I mean, that's certainly a factor, but that's not the big selling point. I think that, it's a Batgirl movie, right? It's a character that a lot of folks know, even if they're not comic book fans, just because Batgirl is one of those comic characters that has surpassed just comic book notoriety. Like my mom knows who Batgirl is.
Sure.
Right? My mom didn't know who Captain Marvel was. No offense, but she didn't. So there's more marquee value in Batgirl. Again, it's just I can see it both ways, and so that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it either way. It just my point was going to be I don't know what Black Widow made at the box office, but yesterday I watched The Eternals. I'm not going to get into my thoughts about that movie, but I just happened to look up what The Eternals made at the box office, and it was a little over 400 million global.
Yeah.
So I thought that's interesting. So then I looked up Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi did a little better. I think it did, and don't quote me on this, but like 472, something like that. They both did in the 400s, which is still a respectable amount, but it's not the numbers that these movies are used to.
Yeah, and I mean, and they're also pandemic
Black
numbers.
Widow did much better than that, if not.
It did less. It did less. So it did. I looked it up. It did 379 worldwide, 183 domestic.
Again, those are not numbers to scoff at, but they're not the numbers that Marvel releases are used to at this point. My point being, the powerhouse studio in this genre released 4 movies this year, and only one of them got to the numbers that people are used to seeing a Marvel movie get to.
Yeah.
But those other 3 movies, once they hit Disney Plus, became conversation pieces. You see my point? The streaming services are not irrelevant. They're not secondhand stuff anymore. They're starting to be focal points for even movies of this caliber.
Did you listen to the new Disorder yet?
Yeah. You guys talked about Encanto being like that.
Because this was the point I made about Encanto. It came out in theaters, tumbleweeds. As soon as it hit Disney Plus, now it's a phenomenon. So yeah, the world has changed.
Exactly. So if this only makes it to HBO Max and not to a theater, for theater purists, I'm sure that's kind of a disappointment. But for the rest of the general population, and especially somebody like me who prefers the home release over the theater release, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I get it. And HBO Max now has I think when they ended the year, they said they had 78 million subscribers, which was a huge jump over the past year because of content. And
at $15 a month, do the math on that. Holy crap.
It's still less than Disney Plus. Disney Plus, I think, surpassed 100 million subscribers, but I think that HBO Max...
They're also half the price and half the content, too.
Well, and also came out, a year or two before.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, the point is valid in that, there is value in both. And so I understand them sort of dividing and conquering, as it were. It sounds to me, again, according to all the numbers and all the reports we saw, the Suicide Squad did not do well in theaters. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But according to the numbers on HBO Max, a lot of people watched it there, and we don't, you can't tell how many of those drove subscriptions, but so many people watched that on HBO Max. And so again, there's value in the streaming world that we're living in.
Certainly.
Anyway, so more Batgirl as it develops. Again, right now, everything I have seen, I've liked everything I've seen. I'll put it that way. I've liked everything I have seen. I cannot wait for this. Is she going to get a bat bike? I bet you she is. That'll be badass. I love what I'm seeing at Gotham. I can't wait to see more. I do want to see more official stuff. It's a shame how much we see through set photos, but again, what are you going to do? I don't really get bent out of shape about it. I just can't be bothered. Especially because right now, is artwork on the street really spoilery? I don't think so. I think it's fine. But I still don't share it from the Holy BatCast Twitter or anything, just out of respect, just in case. But again, I'm psyched. I think it looks great. I think she looks great. I think the costume looks great. Even if this is the final costume, the only one she has, I still think it looks great.
You know, you say that, but you said you hope she has a bat bike. What if that's Batman's contribution to her, joining the family, so to say, is giving her a bike and helping her with some tech, giving her, a little bit of help in the utility belt department. And then, she kind of does the whole tweaking to make things better as he gives it to her sort of stuff. I'm okay with that. Like the costume is fine the way it is. I don't have any issue with that. If they want to upgrade it to something that looks more like a classic traditional Batgirl, I'm okay with that too. But that's not my focal thing on it. I would rather see her get a bat cycle that looks like a bat cycle and a true utility belt and some tech assistance and that sort of thing. That would be welcome for me.
Yeah. I mean, but I would even argue this is a traditional looking Batgirl.
Well, you know what I'm saying. More the classic Batgirl look from her first appearance or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean,
and again, the Burnside costume, it's not my favorite by way of design or anything, but this I think really looks great the way that they pieced it together here.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. All right, well, psyched for Batgirl, very cool. But now we're gonna do something that we said we were gonna do. Look at us, actually making good on promises, because it's just about a year old, and that is we're gonna look at the animated Justice Society World War II. Is the release date on this darn thing? I hate the new IMDb. Okay, so this, what? See, that doesn't seem right. It's saying it was released last April, but that had to have been. Oh,
didn't Soul of the Dragon come out before this?
Oh, Soul of the Dragon came out. Yeah, Soul of the Dragon came out in
cancel
January.
The episode. We have to go watch Soul of the Dragon. We'll be back later. See you.
Okay, so my bad. Soul of the Dragon came out January last year. For some reason, in my brain, I mixed them up. Justice Society did not come out until April 27th, so it's not even a year old yet. But as we talked about, it's now available on HBO Max. And so for anybody who didn't want to buy it, it is readily available as long as you've got HBO Max. And so now we're like, well, then now we can finally watch it, check it off the list. So not even a year old. Look at how timely we are. We're right on top of this thing.
I mean, for us, this is pretty good these days.
Exactly. I'm taking this as a win. Yeah, so I guess it was Soul of the Dragon that I was like, oh, it's a year old. I guess we should do it. But we didn't do that. One of these days. Anyway, so this was directed by Jeff Wamester. It was written by Jeremy Adams and Megan Fitzmartin. Well, we have a voice cast here of Stana Katic, who was most famous from Castle, which I did enjoy that show. She's Wonder Woman. Matt Bomer, who is now just part of the DC family. He is the Flash. Darren Criss is back as Superman. Chris Diamantopoulos is Steve Trevor. Liam McIntyre is Aquaman. And then a bunch of other folks here. Omid Abtahi as Hawkman. Jeffrey Arend is the Advisor. Darren DePaul is Brainiac. Keith Ferguson is Dr. Fate. Ashley Lathrop is Iris West. Alicia Rotaru is Black Canary. Armin Taylor is the other Flash, Jay Garrick. So we'll start spoiler-free of Justice Society World War II, and then we will get into spoilers. So did you do your homework and watch this movie, Jamie?
Twice.
Twice?
Yeah, I watched it a couple of weeks ago, and then I watched it this morning before we recorded. So.
Overachiever. All right. Well, yeah. Give me your thoughts.
I think it's pretty good. I don't quite think it's great. First and foremost, I'm just going to get this out of the way. Did it feel like Flashpoint Light to you? Because it kind of felt like Flashpoint Light to me.
Kind of, sort of.
I mean, not beat for beat or anything, but just the concept of it. It really kind of felt like that, which is fine because I really like Flashpoint. It's one of my favorite of the DC movies. So if you're going to ape one, ape the best, right? I'll also get this out of the way first because I don't want to make this a whole thing. I found the choice of Wonder Woman's Eastern European sounding accent to be very strange. I don't have any issue with the performance or anything like that. I just hearing Wonder Woman talking like an Eastern European sounding accent just seemed odd to me. Am I alone there too? Or
It was at first because we're so not used to it, but I took it as like, oh wow, they're sort of adopting the accent that now we've seen in the films because of Gal Gadot. It's a different accent. It's not one for one, but like the whole concept of because she's from Themyscira, she would have some sort of accent. I thought that was an interesting choice. It didn't bother me. I was like, oh, okay, they're sort of taking that same element from the films. And there are a few things in here that I felt like were inspired by the DC films, and that was one of them.
Okay. Story wise and everything, I think it's good enough. I'm not head over heels in love with this thing, but I'm also not really disappointed with it either. It's kind of good, not great, I guess is where I land with it.
Okay. Well, I was shocked in that I thought it was great. And I don't remember the last time I watched one of these and I was like, that was great. But that's how I felt as I was watching this. I was like, man, this is really good. I'm very impressed with it. There was a lot more to it than I was expecting. And I do think your points about Flashpoint, I see where you're coming from, and we can talk about those in spoilers, because I think some of it is kind of spoilery. But to the point where I was like, man, this feels very different, but in a very good way, in a refreshing way almost. And when I looked up the director, Jeff Wamaster, I was like, what else has he done? This is his first DC animated film, and he really cut his teeth doing the Guardians of the Galaxy animated show. So I feel like he's new blood to the DC side, and I could feel that when watching the movie. I was like, this is not someone going through the motions. This is something new, and I thought it really worked. I was very impressed. I liked the team. I liked how much of the DC universe was incorporated into this, because you do have the core Justice Society, but there's so much more than just that. I thought the story was good. I thought that they found a way for all of these characters to do something, and there's a lot going on. It is one of the quote-unquote longer ones because it's almost an hour and a half, which for the animated films is long. But yeah, I actually walked away really impressed. I thought the animation was excellent. This is definitely the new style, but for some reason I think it looks great. And what I was maybe most impressed with was the action. Like the action, animation, and choreography in this was really impressive to me, to the point where I was like, damn, like this looks like a great live action DC superhero film, but it's not. It's all in animation, but I feel like they really were focused on making the action sequences stand out and be really exciting and very cool, and they did not disappoint. So yeah, I actually walked out very impressed with it.
I think the action beats are in my top 2 or 3 things about the movie for me. We're definitely in agreement on that part.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite thing. We'll get to my favorite thing later, but I think it's up there.
Okay. Cool. All right. Well, so yeah, I think this one, and maybe it's just because it was one that I was, I wasn't even that excited to see. Like I was like, of course I'll watch it, but like I was just like, it's all right. Like I'll check it out eventually. So I didn't have much expectation for it, and because of that, I think that was another reason I was just so impressed. Is I was like, no, this is actually a really good movie. This is like a good Justice Society movie. If this was a live action big film, I think I would be very impressed with it. So yeah, I was shocked at how much I liked it, but it's out there. I would even go so far as to say I loved it, you liked it, but that's just a Society World War II. I want us to be able to speak freely, spoilers and all. So if you guys are worried about spoilers, I would just fast forward now until the Batman Beyond episode. But we're going to speak freely. So spoiler warning is in effect in 3, 2, 1.
You want me to jump straight to the end of the movie now? Or?
If that's what you want to do.
Actually, I want to jump to my favorite thing. because it is my favorite thing. Both times I watched it, it just made me smile each time. The relationship between Steve Trevor and Wonder Woman, I just loved it in this.
Mm-hmm.
The whole he proposes to her every single day, it simultaneously warmed my heart and made me giggle. The concept was, I don't know if original is the best way to approach it, but I mean it felt fresh. It's like we've had different iterations of the Steve Trevor Wonder Woman relationship, and this one it really clicked for me really well. And I think they did it with just enough humor, but that the heart maintained with it, and it really pays off at the end for me.
Mm-hmm. No, I will agree with that. I thought it was really good too.
And then I think just behind that, the way the Flashes worked with each other and off of each other in this, I thought also was excellent. Each one of them teaching them tricks that they know how to do, and they're like, "Oh, you can do that? Oh, we can do that." That was also a really cool thing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I did. I knew so little about this movie going in that a lot of it took me by surprise. Like, I did not realize, and I'd seen the cover art, so I did see that there were two Flashes in the cover art, but I did not realize that present-day Flash was going to travel into the past and team up with the Justice Society. I didn't know that was an element to this movie. So when the movie came out and people said, oh, it's definitely the same universe as Superman Man of Tomorrow, which I really liked as well. We talked about that way back when, whatever, a few months ago. I thought, oh, that must just be because the animation is the same. And then when I watched it, I was like, oh no, like Darren Criss' Superman is literally in this movie. I had no idea he was even in the movie until I was watching it. That took me by surprise. And I was like, oh, so like they really are tying it in with that film. And so it was a surprise to me that we start in present day with the current Flash, with Darren Criss' Superman, and then that Flash ends up going back in time and teaming up with the Justice Society. So that was an element I completely didn't know about. I agree with you. I loved the camaraderie between the two Flashes, and yeah, how they were teaching each other things. I thought that was a really cool element. And again, what I really loved is and maybe this is why I wasn't as excited for it, was I was like, I like the Justice Society, but it's never been my favorite thing. And it's not something that I've ever really followed super closely. For me, I was mostly just excited because I was like, oh yeah, they've got Wonder Woman front and center. So it's kind of a Wonder Woman movie, and it kind of is, but I was impressed with how much of the rest of the DC universe was in this. I love that Superman plays a supporting role, and Brainiac is there too. I love that Aquaman shows up halfway through the film and ends up becoming the antagonist through no fault of his own, but he becomes a really formidable antagonist to the Justice Society, and I thought that was really cool. I knew he was in it because there was also like artwork on the back of the Blu-ray of him looking pretty nefarious, and I was like, oh, okay, that's interesting. But like I didn't realize Dr. Fate was in this. It's crazy, like they were able to fit in so much of just the DC universe. The only thing we're really missing is a Batman any sort of Batman element. That's one thing that's completely absent. So there's really no good way to connect this to Batman, but that's okay. Other than that, I was impressed how much ground it covered and how much it was able to do in an hour and 24 minutes.
It certainly did pack a lot of information in there. I hate getting negative about stuff, but I'm going to need a little bit of help here. I realize I am not the brightest bulb in the chandelier from time to time, but I wasn't crazy about the Superman stuff in this.
Like the past Superman stuff?
Any of it. Like the stuff with him and Brainiac I thought was fine, but it also felt a little flimsy to me because, I mean, you're kind of there in the middle of it, and I get it. It's not the focal point of the story. It's just kind of like the springboard into what they're going to do. I get that. I can accept that, but I wasn't, head over heels with that. But then the past Superman stuff happens, and this is actually why I watched it a second time. I thought I must have missed something in the first watch about how he suddenly is shifted from a character in modern times to a character in 1942. Mm-hmm. I don't think I ever got my head around why or how that happened, or if there was any kind of a logical explanation for it. So if you can give me some guidance on this, I sure would appreciate it, and I'd love to hear it.
Well, so the present day current Superman stuff I thought was great. I loved that this sets up, this is the first time Superman and the Flash have ever teamed up. I like how it benefits both of them. I like how they're like, hey, there's something to this. I thought all that was really good. I loved getting the extended cameo from Brainiac. So I thought there was that stuff I was actually really happy with. If I have a nitpick with it, is that when the Flash goes back to the past, to World War II, teams up with the Justice Society, and there is a Superman there, I just don't know if it was worth it. I don't know if you get enough from that extra plot point to even bother. And how does that happen? How it happens is because, and I think this is the whole reason that they set up that the Flash thinks he's gone back to the past, and he has, but then he learns, because once he meets Superman, he realizes, oh, I didn't just go back into the past. I also went to another Earth. So it's not just, he didn't just move through time. He moved through space. He went to a separate Earth. And I was like, do you even need that element? And the only reason you need that element is to justify why there's a different Superman who's in the past in that time period. And also, I guess it allows you to not worry about, oh, the Flash is changing the past because it's a separate Earth, so you don't have to worry about it. So I felt like that was maybe just an extra complication you didn't need, and I do think that the Superman in the past, so on this other Earth, anything could have happened. So on this other Earth, Superman arrived on Earth 50 years earlier, or whatever it was. That's why, that's how. And I guess they wanted that reveal. And I do think that the payoff to it was pretty good. And I was sort of waiting for it through the whole finale of like, they didn't set up Superman for no reason. There's a reason. And, oh, there we go. Like once those final bombers come in and Superman comes in and just takes them all out himself, it's pretty badass. Again, the action stuff there was really good. But yeah, that's why it's a separate Earth, is because this Superman got to Earth way earlier than the one in the present.
Okay, so I did catch all that, and it never processed with me, like, why is he the only one that, I don't know. I felt like that could have been stronger or eliminated, and the movie would have been fine.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. I don't think you really needed it. I felt like it was an extra layer that wasn't that necessary to the story, because if you remove that, then you don't even need to say it was a separate Earth. It could have just been the past of this Earth. But again, I think they just wanted the cleanliness of, oh, this way you're not worrying about what's happening there and how it affects the present. And also, maybe they have plans for the present timeline to bring in Wonder Woman in a new way instead of it being this Wonder Woman from the past. And if that's the case, that could also be why they did that.
Fair point, I guess.
So, yeah, like I said, that was sort of my one... And it didn't really bother me because, again, I liked the payoff when Superman comes in and saves the day at the end. But when they revealed this character named Shakespeare and the Flash is like, wait, do I know you? I was like, okay, I assumed that this Shakespeare character was going to make a turn and would end up being the villain one way or the other. That was what I was expecting. And then when the turn was, oh, no, it's actually Superman. It's Clark Kent. I was like, oh, that I did not see coming. That is odd. But okay, sure. I just think that you didn't necessarily need it.
No. The stuff with Aquaman, I'd prefer Aquaman, be back to back, shoulder to shoulder, fighting with the heroes. But making him the unwilling antagonist in the film, I thought worked well enough, and gives a really strong villain for Wonder Woman and whoever to fight at the end. Which also very much has a Flashpoint vibe to it because of how that kind of finished off, but I guess just different enough where it's not. Me calling this Flashpoint light, I mean that was kind of one of the big reasons that I said it. Obviously the travel to different time, different world, whatever. The parallels there speak for themselves, but this one also felt very familiar in that respect to me.
Yeah, no, I thought that too when, seeing Wonder Woman fight Aquaman, of course, my mind goes to Flashpoint. And then, again, that's where I get where you're coming from, is that, yes, you have the Flash who's traveling back in time. He's on an alternate timeline. And then Wonder Woman and Aquaman end up fighting each other. But I think that the big difference is none of this is happening because of the Flash. The Flash didn't cause this alternate timeline, and so you don't, and also you don't really get alternate versions of the heroes we know the same way you do in Flashpoint. So I think that's where it's not quite the same. But I agree with you when I, again, looking at the artwork that, again, it's on the Blu-ray, and I think that even when I click on it on iTunes, it's in there is of Aquaman, but like looking kind of evil. I was like, oh, like, are they going to make him a villain? And I agree with you. I prefer him to be a hero and teamed up with the society, but if they were going to do an alternate timeline, I was like, oh, I guess in this timeline, Aquaman is bad. I liked that was not the case. He's not a villain. He's not bad. He's still a hero. He's just under the influence of this other guy. And did we know, I guess, that's Advisor, I assume? I just kept waiting for them to reveal like him as some other character from the DC universe that is like influencing him, because I don't know this character or where he came from or who he is.
Yeah, I'm not deep enough into the JSA lore or apparently the DC universe enough to spot who that might have been. He didn't seem familiar to me at all.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know who he is, but the point again is that I'm glad that using Aquaman as an antagonist, it works because he's super powerful. He comes with an army. He comes with kaiju, which I loved. I love the finale of this movie. I loved the invasion of Atlantis into, I guess it would be New York, New Jersey.
Yeah, seems about right.
Something like that. I mean, I appreciate that it's like Coney Island where they're invading, because that's a big enough threat to require the entire Justice Society. So I really liked that, but I liked that Aquaman himself was not at fault and he was under the influence. But I also love how powerful this movie makes him. Like the fight with him and Wonder Woman is great. I think it's awesome. What they do with him and the trident is really badass. So I love how this movie really showcases how powerful Aquaman really is.
Mm-hmm. He seems to be getting a lot more respect in that department the last 5 years or so.
Yeah, cool. Exactly.
Because, not long ago, I was one of those people that thought he was a joke character. All it took was me reading a few comic books and a movie and, sprinkled stuff in here and there. No, he deserves to be in there with the rest of these guys.
Yeah. Well, and, I mentioned that I feel like Wonder Woman's accent was inspired by the films. I feel like Iris West, being a person of color, is inspired by the TV show.
Or even the DCEU at this point.
Yeah, that too. That's true. And then at the end, when Aquaman unleashes these creatures, they say, oh, he's going down to this trench and he's unlocking this cage. I totally thought he was going to the trench and was going to unleash the trench. That was not the case, but instead he releases these other monstrous sea creatures, which I thought the designs were really cool. I thought they were great. But the biggest one, the one he's riding, reminded me a lot of the Karathan from the Aquaman film.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was really cool too. So you could start to see the live action films inspiring backwards things like this, animated versions or comic versions, things like that.
Sure. Yeah, he went down there, and I was crossing my fingers with both hands, hoping a Kraken was going to come up. But, pretty close.
Pretty close. Yeah, so I thought those were really cool. Although I will say, there's a moment where, right before Aquaman and Wonder Woman fight, Wonder Woman attacks him while he's on top of this monstrous creature. I just thought, I was like, why would you not attack the Advisor? What the hell's he gonna do? If you take him out, Aquaman comes back to our side, and none of this is necessary. No?
Okay, even though I've watched it twice, I'm foggy on it. Were they clear on whether or not that guy actually had the grip on him? Or?
Oh, 100%.
Okay, all right.
I don't know if the society realized that. So that's, I think, could be the defense, because I only watched it the one. I only watched it the one time. I watched it last night. Maybe we as the audience knew that, but maybe they didn't, and that's why they just went after Aquaman proper. But I was just like, no, take out this freaking guy who's standing behind him. You take him out, none of this is a problem.
Suddenly we're like the people watching the TV screens in a Scream movie saying, turn around, turn around. Sorry. I
So
got Scream on the brain right now. Sorry.
yeah, that's all right. So anyway, again, the finale I thought was really terrific, and I like that. Again, every character has something to do. We mentioned the camaraderie between the two Flashes. I think Black Canary is great in this, and she has some really nice moments. Hawkman is badass. Like I really like what they did. And that was what I was going to say is I think that the character designs in this are spot on. They're not,
sure.
They're slightly different. They're a little tweaked than the comic book, but they're close enough. And I think they all look really great. Aquaman looks great. The Flash looks great. Wonder Woman looks great. I think the design work here is pretty terrific.
Every artist and designer wants to put their own little bit of flavor into a character, and that's cool. But as you always say and have just said, it's got to look like the character, and when it looks like the character, that's great. Even though they may tweak it here and there, and this movie really pulls that off well. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned Hawkman, Black Canary. I really like her as a character anyway, but Hawkman, I feel like might be the next guy up to bat for getting his proper due and respect from fans who may not know him as well as they should or want to or anything else. I feel like he's that next breakout character that could potentially be like Aquaman, where people may think he's about half of a joke, but then all of a sudden he shows up, say, in the Black Adam movie and does a lot of spectacular shit. Maybe he's the next one up to bat for that. I hope so, because I think he's a character that really kind of deserves it. He's got a lot of history, and he's a cool looking and cool acting, and the basis of the character is great. I just think there's certainly potential there for something special.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think Hawkman is a great character. I've always loved his design. I think he looks awesome, and I'm super excited to see him in Black Adam. And you're right, like this could allow him to step out in front. They certainly got the right actor for it. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah.
There's a really great piece. Kevin Smith wrote a Green Arrow book. I can't recall what the name of it was right off the top of my head, but it was a really good book. Like, it's when Ollie is resurrected and he comes back, and they take him to a place where some of the Justice League people are at, and they're like, "Where's Ollie?" They're like, "Oh, he's in the next room." Well, isn't Carter in there? They're like, yeah. They're like, oh my God, we have the ultimate liberal in there with the ultimate conservative. Stuff's about to break. And they like rush in there to break up a fight. And like Ollie and Carter are bent over with their hands on each other's shoulders laughing. It's just, I don't know. It's a cool moment to me.
Oh, nice. I did notice, I was like, why is Hawkman the Kenny of the DC universe?
Always got to die?
Yeah, this poor guy can't show up to anything without getting killed.
Well, I mean, the simple answer to that is because he comes back to life like that. So
I know, but I'm just like, oh man, poor Carter. He's just, yeah. You killed Hawkman, you bastards.
Our Man. I mean, he's not a character that I have any kind of real familiarity with. I always thought it was, kind of an odd thing. The guy's got powers for an hour because of this, this formula that he makes or what have you. But, why can't you extend it? Why can't it be 90 minutes, 2 hours, something like that? But, but he comes from an era where they had to write certain weaknesses into characters to not make them all powerful and give them challenges to use their brain as well as their muscles. So I get the idea, but he was pretty cool in this movie.
Yeah, he was. I mean, I think he gets the least to do, but at the same time, again, speaking to the action sequences, when he's powered up, he is tossing cars and tanks and just laying waste to these Nazis, and he's really badass. Like, from an action standpoint, every member here, every hero gets to do some really awesome stuff, and I feel like they took pride in that. You can see the care they took in really having fun with like big superhero action sequences, and Our Man's just another example.
Yeah.
I also wanted to mention real quick, like, as it started, they start in the past to sort of set up, there was a point where President Roosevelt approved the use of this Justice Society to go after the Nazis and what they've been doing. There's a really nice nod to the Ark of the Covenant at the beginning from Raiders. Yeah. I mean, obviously the Ark of the Covenant isn't just from Raiders, but when they show it, it's the one from Raiders. And then the opening credits are really awesome because they're this cool, like old school.
It's like the serial reels that they used to show in front of movies.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's like black and white with like the film scratches and the imperfect audio and the imperfect projection. And it's so cool. And when that happened, I was like, oh man, like this is something really cool. And then they do the same thing with the ending, which is why I was surprised when after that we go back to the present. And I was like, oh, geez, I wasn't expecting this. But I thought it was so cool how they really leaned into the era and had a lot of fun with the 1940s. And what's funny is, for years now, we've been talking about all kinds of movies on Real Fans, both on the show and in the group. And, I'm not a fan of war movies. It's just not my thing. Doesn't do it for me. But I have learned that the exception is I love war movies if there are superheroes in them.
Shocking.
Because I love Captain America, the First Avenger. I love the first Wonder Woman film. I love The Rocketeer, even though it's not quite a war movie, but and I loved this. So I'm like, war movies are great as long as there are superheroes running around beating up Nazis. I'm pretty happy.
That sounds about par for the course for you. Yeah.
So, yeah. So it was a lot of fun, and I also loved, to your point, Steve Trevor, like his dedication to Wonder Woman is really sweet. It's very good. And then Steve Trevor, like he's always this, he is the normal person amongst all of these gods, and bless him, man, if he doesn't just put everything he can out there to do his best to help. And I think that this movie does that really well, is allows him to come in the clutch and help out. And towards the end, when Wonder Woman and Aquaman are having their big climactic battle, I love how he comes to Wonder Woman's aid and he says, yeah, take your time. I got this covered. And it's like, dude, you don't. Aquaman's going to lay you out almost immediately. But he's just, when he goes, they're like, what are you going to do? And he said, anything I can, which I just thought was really cool, of this non-superheroed character, or non-super powered character, excuse me, just going in and doing whatever he can to help.
And in so many of the iterations of Steve Trevor that I've come to know in the last several years, be it movie, comic, whatever, the one thing that makes Steve Trevor a very likable character to me is what he lacks in the ability to keep up with these people as far as like physical or powers or whatnot. He more than makes up for that in his heart, his nobility, and his bravery.
Yeah.
And they showcase that first and foremost with him in this film, and I really appreciated that.
Yep. I completely agree. So, again, yeah, just I think the character work overall was really great. There was a really, really nice relationship between Hawkman and Black Canary, which was unexpected. And it was weird because I was like, are they trying to make it romantic? And it's never quite there, but it's almost there. But it's a really nice, strong friendship and relationship. And so when Hawkman dies, spoilers, but at this point, just assume. I hope that doesn't mean he dies in Black Adam. Don't kill him. Don't kill him in his first movie, guys.
But again, the reincarnation thing.
Yeah,
him,
but it still takes it still takes 25 years for him to grow up into a new Hawkman. It's not like he wakes up a full-grown man.
It gives the writers the ability to play around in that area, and I think too many of them take too much advantage of that, personally.
Yeah.
And Black Adam isn't going to be set in the modern time frame, right? Isn't that going to be set in the past?
Oh, that's a good question, I guess. Maybe.
I thought it was. I could be wrong.
That makes sense since it's the Justice Society that he's dealing with. So I think you could be right. I didn't even think about it, if I'm being honest.
So you got time to grow a new Hawkman if you're going to off him. But you know what? One. The offing him thing's been done. Don't be that guy.
Yeah, not in the first one. Anyway, the point is, after Hawkman dies, there's a really great scene between he and Black Canary. And then when Black Canary, she's just got no F's to give, and she just goes out and starts laying waste to these guys. It's really badass.
She goes ham.
Yeah.
She goes ham.
Yeah. So I really love that too. I thought that was great. And I also loved the element where she's like, oh, the Flash, he's from the future. They call him Future Boy, which I feel is a nice nod to Back to the Future. But she's like, he doesn't know who we are. He doesn't remember us. So like, what's the point of doing this? Why are we even doing this? Nobody's even going to know who we are. We try to help and we're going to die and no one's ever going to know we did it. Which I think is a very valid and human reaction to this. It kind of reminds me of Men in Black, of that whole element, is no one will ever know who you are again. Is it worth it? So I thought that was a really nice element to this too.
Yeah.
All right. Any other things you want to call out about Justice Society?
I'm trying to kind of scan through my brain real quick and see if there's anything that I can say about it other than just going sea creatures. But no, there's really not. So sea creatures. Like the things look like hammerhead sharks on legs. It was kind of cool.
It was really great. Oh my God, when I think it's the Flash. It was the Jay Garrick Flash when he blows up that huge crab, and he throws the bombs in the mouth. He's like, "Oh, you're really hard from the outside," and then it blows up, and he just starts like puking all his guts out. It was awesome. But I was like, come on, Jamie's got to love this, for at least for the giant monsters wrecking a city at the end.
Well, yeah, Jamie is kind of into the whole kaiju giant monster things. You know, anytime a city gets wrecked, I'm in on it.
Yeah, so thought it was good. All right, well, why don't we give some closing thoughts and letter grades for Justice Society World War II?
Worth my time. I'm not disappointed I watched it either time. I think some elements could have been stronger, tweaked story-wise, especially for me anyway. The Superman stuff in the present and the past, neither one of them really worked all of that particularly well for me. You know, Andy and I have a little bit of a differing opinion there, but guess what? Menus at restaurants. But the Trevor Wonder Woman stuff, I think that alone made it worth my time to watch both times. But there's certainly more than that to like about this. And again, I really think there's a lot more to like about this than not. You know, a few, you know, quibbles aside, I really think this is a pretty good quality film. I think it's just shy of being great, but a good entry into the DC animated universe just the same. I think it was worthwhile. For me, this is I'm going to put this on a B+.
All right. I mean, we're not that far off. I just was really pleasantly surprised for a movie that at this point, you know, felt like an obligation more than anything, because I just put it off for so long where I was like, I've gone this far without watching it. I don't care anymore. And then being like, well, I guess I'll watch it. We'll do it on the episode, blah, blah, blah. I was like, damn, this is good. So Jeff Wamaster, I hope you're signed up for more of these animated films. I want to see more from this guy. Because, yeah, this was a really great Justice Society movie that wasn't just a Justice Society movie. It was a DC Universe movie. Just when I thought I had seen everyone who was going to be in it, more of them pop up. I loved the characters. I loved the animation. I loved the action. I thought it was a blast. And I have very few negative things to say. The only thing I really can say that's nitpicky is, like, I don't know if you need the alternate Superman who was reluctant and then sort of comes in the clutch at the end. I don't know if you need that, but even that I was still pretty fine with. So yeah, this one was really a nice surprise, a nice strong entry into the DC animated films. Gives a big old thumbs up for me. I'm giving it an A.
All right. If you gave it an A-, I was going to spit at you, you know. So you went with an A, so I'm going to let it go.
Okay, thanks. So Justice Society World War II, it's available for purchase, but it is also on HBO Max. I think, guys, definitely give it a shot. If you haven't watched it yet, there's a lot to like here. It's a really good DC animated action movie. So check it out, especially if you love The Flash and Wonder Woman, because it's really their movie. And then Aquaman, a badass too. So check it out. I think it's awesome. I hope you guys like it. It's not the only animated movie it's not the only animated DC thing we've watched in the past 24 hours, because we also watched the next episode of Batman Beyond. So let's talk about that. Okie dokie, where did we leave off? Season 3, Episode 2, Untouchable. This one was directed by Dan Reba, written by Hilary J. Bader. It aired on September 23rd of 2000. So there is a new villain in town. He's very electric-y. Kind of looks like almost every Batman Beyond villain. Like, they sort of have a look, don't they?
They do. Yeah.
So it's pretty consistent with that.
So much so at the beginning of the episode, I'm like, wait, is this a new one or is this one that we've seen before?
Yeah. He is new, but he just, he's kind of got like a gray metallic face and sort of a black bodysuit, but he's got this force field-ish type thing around him. They call him the Repeller. Now, when it was called Untouchable, I thought for sure it was going to be about a villain who was intangible, like Shadowcat, like who could phase through things or they would phase through them. That's not what the Repeller does. He's untouchable because this force field, this electric field around him, repels things. So you can't touch him because it just gets repelled, or you can't throw a batarang at him because that just gets repelled as well. So he's out there, he's stealing... not amino acids, but he's stealing something like that,
Isotopes.
Right? Isotopes. Yeah, that's it. Isotopes.
Isotopes. Yeah, I'm an idiot. Isotopes.
He's stealing isotopes. He's selling it to people. Bruce has seen this technology before. Bruce goes, I know, I've seen this. And it turns out it was at Wayne Powers. In one of their research divisions, they have these kids with like immune issues who can't be out in the real world. So we're essentially getting the Batman Beyond version of the boy in the plastic bubble.
Yes. But they didn't play Trivial Pursuit.
I've never seen it.
Really?
No.
Okay.
I just know of it.
I won't ruin it for you.
Okay. But so yeah, they have like immune issues.
You're probably talking about the movie. I'm talking about the Seinfeld episode with the boy in the plastic bubble.
Oh God, I forgot there was one. Yeah, see, you're still in your Seinfeld rewatch.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
So anyway, they were like, oh, they have like this really big, bulky, like spacesuit they could wear, but then they have this new thing. It's a belt, and it causes this electric field around them that sort of gives them their own little environment, and they can't touch anything. Nothing can touch them, but it allows them to move freely and stay safe. And so, like, that's obviously what the Repeller is using. So they see that. There's a very nice doctor, Dr. Suzuki. There's a not so nice doctor. I think he was Dr. Blades. And then there's a very cute girl named Irene that Terry hits it off with. And she's one of the patients, so she has never been outside because of her condition. And so Bruce is sort of digging into this. Dr. Suzuki is very helpful. And then Dr. Blades is like, get the hell out of here. I don't even care that you own this place. This is none of your business. And Bruce Wayne goes, well, I just thought, this thing could have some weapon implications. And the guy goes, oh, of course, that's what you want to do. I will not be a part of any of that. And so we got some suspects, of course. At the same time, Terry, not the brightest guy in the world, he's on a date with Dana at like Chuck E. Cheese. Whatever they call their version of Chuck E. Cheese. So at first I thought they had maybe taken his little brother there, but no, they're just there, the two of them.
So don't act like you don't hang out at Chuck E. Cheese.
I would, but I'm not allowed to.
Oh, you got the restraining order.
Yeah. I mean, true story. There was a point where me and my friend Dillip and I think another friend of ours, when we were like young adults, so probably like 20, we were like, oh, you know where we haven't been in forever? Chuck E. Cheese. Let's go. And we went and they literally said, you cannot come in if you don't have kids with you.
You're effing kidding me.
No, I swear to God. And we were not there to cause any trouble. We were there for like a nostalgia trip and to eat some garbage pizza. But yeah, they were like, you can't come in without kids. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I did not know that was a thing. So they thought we were going to cause trouble. But not in the future, which I think is getting very close to being the present. But in the future, that's where you take your high school sweetheart, is to the Gotham version of Chuck E. Cheese. And
well, maybe it was like a Dave & Buster's.
Yeah, I guess. And then Terry, not the brightest bulb in the string, spends the whole time telling Dana about Irene.
Terry's good at the relationship.
Dude, come on, man. And so Dana gets upset, and then just as that happens, Irene calls him. She's broken out. She's gone out into the world. So Terry and Dana are in a fight. Shock. That never happens. I feel like they're in a fight more often than they're not.
We're going to address that as soon as you get done with your
synopsis. We are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Terry goes and meets up with Irene. They go to the beach. She can't feel the water. She can't feel the sand, but she can hear it, and she's excited to be out and about. He takes her back to the lab. She gets in trouble for going out, of course. And then the repeller goes out. He's stealing more stuff because Bruce figures out the last isotope he needs. And so Batman's there waiting for him. And the repeller's powers, they're not super clear. Because it's like they say, oh, he can't touch anything and nothing can touch him. But at the same time, like, he takes money from the people he's working for. Like, they literally show them put it in his hand. So I don't know. I'm not very.
I mean, you could probably justify that by saying he can turn down the force field in the thing to make it more of a tangible situation. But
yeah, perhaps. Because then at a certain point, like, Irene and Terry hold hands. So I don't know. But he also can, like, use the repel technology to essentially do, like, concussion blasts, which that I can wrap my head around that logic of, like, oh, if you increase the repelling power, it can become a concussive force blast that you can use as a weapon. So he fights Terry, he gets away. At the same time, Irene is skulking around the lab. We find out it was the nice one. It was Dr. Suzuki. He was the one who was doing it. He knocks out Dr. Blades. Batman shows up, takes him down. He's he gets arrested, and Terry is like, oh, I gotta let Irene down easy because of Dana, and turns out she let him down easy. She already had a boyfriend, and that's it. And Bruce is like, how'd she take it? And Terry's like, pretty good, actually. And that is the end. So what did you think of Untouchable, Jamie?
Remember that episode we watched a few back about the one that triggered the mental health conversation?
Yes.
This felt like it was almost exactly the same script as that. It's almost like the whole, I mean, you'll love this comparison because you're the one that pointed it out to me. It's like comparing A New Hope to Force Awakens. Like, there's just too many similar beats to be coincidental.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about this, which, I like that episode well enough. So it just seems weird to me that this quickly they're going to virtually recycle that script, whether by massive coincidence or, doing it on purpose. Do you remember? You probably do. The Marvel did that whole 2099 series. They had Spider-Man, Punisher, X-Men.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you remember when that came out? It had to have been like the early 90s, right?
That sounds right, yeah.
Okay, because there was an issue of Punisher 2099 where they were dealing with this guy that had a force field that was wreaking all kinds of havoc and nobody could penetrate the force field. Very much similar to what this villain was doing. And I'm not saying that they're aping that, but the closure to that issue was really good because Punisher finally figured out he couldn't shoot the guy because, like, fast-moving projectiles and stuff, that's what the force field was designed to block, but not slow-moving things. So he just pulled a knife out of his belt and slowly walked through the guy's force field at the end of the book. Really cool. But anyway, the Terry Dana thing, I really think they only keep her around just to give him some kind of a personal life conflict outside of, the stuff with his mom or Bruce or whoever else. It feels like that relationship's just dead to me. Like, they never really do anything that I feel develops or furthers that relationship. So I don't know why they bother to keep it around.
Yeah. It's always the same beats, right? Is like, they go on a date. She gets mad at him because he's distracted or tired or has to run off to help Mr. Wayne, and they're in a fight. And then at the end of the episode, they get back together and we just do it again the next time.
Yeah. And this one, to me, it feels like a little bit of a missed opportunity. And again, I'm no writer. I'm not, a particularly creative person. But to me, it would have felt better if she would have just straight up broke up with him and he would have been, okay with it to a point because he's got this other girl that he's going to get the relationship in on. And then they pull the whole, well, I happen to have a boyfriend thing at the end. And then he's kind of heartbroken and has to, sulk away into loneliness in that moment. I think that might have been a stronger finish to this one than him having to go tell her that he can't be in a relationship with her. And then she tells him she's got the boyfriend. That's just, I don't know, not great. The whole dealing with the kids who can't be part of what's deemed as normal society, that can't just go out and do the things that we take for granted, like, getting our feet wet at the beach or feeling air to a degree. They can't feel this because of whatever afflictions that they happen to have. That's fairly strong to me. That tugs at the heartstrings a little bit. I like that. But again, they pull the whole switcheroo thing with who the villain really winds up being. And I didn't figure this one out before the end, but it's one of those where I just kept saying to myself, this has to be somebody other than these two, because it can't be these two because it's too obvious.
Mm-hmm.
But at that point, who else could it be? And I wasn't quick enough to pick up on it being that first Doctor they showed, because he just kind of disappears after that first scene and doesn't come back till the end, which I guess works well enough. But I don't know. That just they're playing the mystery angle too much. And again, I just feel like there's too many similarities between this and that mental health episode to really be anything set apart for this one. It was fine. I liked it well enough. I didn't love it. I think it could have been a better episode, and they didn't capitalize on a couple of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I mean, I think we're pretty much in sync on this. I liked it fine, too. I thought it was okay. To me, it felt like a season 1 episode, for better and for worse. For better, because it was just a nice, simple, like, new villain origin story with Bruce backing up Terry in the field. So it almost felt like a throwback in that way, but at the same time, it also wasn't particularly deep, didn't have much to say, and then the villain was kind of underwhelming. So it was okay. And yeah, I mean, and maybe I just am too much of a geek, and I'm like, wait, like these powers feel really inconsistent as far as what the repeller can and can't do, and what works and what doesn't work. I'm not sure this is all adding up, but I guess I should just let that go and say it's a cartoon. So I liked it fine, but yeah, it wasn't. I'm not going to be chomping at the bit for a return of the repeller.
No. But speaking of returns, I just happened to catch the thumbnail for the next episode on HBO Max, and it looks like we get Ink back.
Yeah, it's been a while since we've seen Ink, so I'm kind of looking forward to that.
Me too. I like her. She might be my favorite of the Batman Beyond villains so far.
Yeah. Well, anyway, give it a letter grade.
One other quick thing I want to address. The last couple episodes, they really seem to have made a concerted effort to get Bruce more involved in the episode, like not overwhelmingly, but like he just feels more present in these last couple episodes than he did almost through the entirety of season 2 to me. So I guess I'll give him a tip of the hat for that, because I like Bruce, obviously.
No, that's fair.
For me, this one's a flat B.
Oh, wow. Okay. I guess you liked it more than I did. I was like C+, which is like totally fine, but nothing special. Yeah. So look at that. Why you always one up in me?
I told you, man. The stuff with the kids kind of tugged at the heartstrings a little bit, so maybe I'm giving it a little bit more credit than it maybe deserves.
Needed more John Travolta and or Jake Gyllenhaal.
Or that really pissed off kid in the Seinfeld episode.
Yeah, see, all three, this could have been the No Way Home of Bubble Boys. All right, so yeah, oh wow, a C+ and a B for Untouchable. Next one up is Inkling. So that would be season 3, episode 3. So watch that for the next one, and we're gonna keep getting through this. It's gonna happen, but we're not ready to go just yet, because we have to check in with you fine feathered finks and crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Derek, what is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
All right, here we go. First email is from our old pal Chris, the Objective Geek. It says, "Hey guys, I have seen Spider-Man No Way Home and I've listened to the Real Fans review on it, but I have a few Batman-related questions. Number one," these really feel like Spider-Man questions. But okay, Chris. He says, "I'm not a big fan of the first 2 Holland films. They're fine, but I found Holland to be more Iron Boy and less Spider-Man, and there was something else missing that I couldn't figure out until I saw No Way Home, which I loved, and that was Peter dealing with loss and tragedy. So as much as people complain about seeing Uncle Ben or the Waynes being killed in every new reboot, I think it's vital to the characters. That being said, do you think the Batman should or will have a flashback to the Waynes' deaths?" I like how you brought it around. It was good, Chris. He says, "It was really fun seeing all the past Spider-Man villains from different universes team up. So if you could put together your own Sinister Six of Batman villains from any past films, who would they be and what type of redesigns could they have?" I'd have Uma Thurman as Poison Ivy with a CW Batwoman redesign. Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn in the classic jester suit before she turned anti-hero. Jack Nicholson's Joker as is. Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman as is. Cillian Murphy's Scarecrow with an Arkham Games redesign. And Tom Hardy Bane with the venom gas pumping through the mask, bulking him up. Side note, I'm pretty sure Electro and the villain in the end credit scene didn't know who Spider-Man was, so that didn't make any sense. Anyway, keep up the great work, Chris. Thanks, Chris. Good to hear from you. All right, these are fun questions, and I appreciate you using Spider-Man to get to Batman. All right, so the first question, do you think that the Batman should or will have a flashback to the death of the Waynes, Jamie?
I would bet vital parts of your anatomy on it.
Oh, well, how generous of you.
It's a dark thing. It's a basis for Batman. He's early in his career in this film. I don't think Matt Reeves can pass it up.
I agree with you, and at the same time, I mean, for two reasons. Number one, I said this before, I feel like just like every director who takes on Batman wants to do their own Batsuit and Batmobile and Batcave. They all want to do their version of the death of the Waynes. And I'm sure Matt Reeves is the same. Also, though, we know that the Waynes and their history and their family plays a huge part into the plot of this film. So it makes a lot of sense that we would go back to see the end of the Waynes as well. And then a Sinister Six of past Batman villains. I'll just say this before you give your thoughts, Jamie. Chris, you've done most of the work for us because I agree with, I think, most of these options.
I think that's pretty fair because I was sitting over here. The only way I'm going to one-up this is if I pull the three Jokers with Nicholson, Leto, and Ledger.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this lineup is already really great. Especially, I definitely agree. I would definitely bring back Cillian Murphy's Scarecrow with a more Scarecrow-y design. And Tom Hardy's Bane, who I love. But yeah, just again, with something a little more comic booky. I think those are great options. Ra's
al Ghul, I think, needs to be in this conversation also. I'm just saying.
Okay. Liam Neeson?
Well, yeah. We haven't gotten a different live-action version of him in the movies anyway.
Right. I love the idea of giving Uma Thurman another crack at it. I think that could be really fun. Harley Quinn, yeah. Like, honestly, it's really hard to argue with your lineup. I'm trying to think of anyone else. I guess I would throw in...
You know what? My Sinister Six, I'm going to pull the three Jokers that I just said and just pretty much take each of those Jokers more or less as is, although with Leto, I might remove all the tattoos and give him more of a traditional appearance maybe. But that might be the only change I make there. But I'm also going to round it out to a six, I'm going to do the three Harleys. And I'm going to make the Harleys Margot, Samara Weaving, and Kristen Bell.
All right. Fair enough.
That may be cheating from what the question was, but the idea popped in my head, and I'm like, I like this. So,
well, okay. So I will also say I would bring back DeVito as the Penguin, and I wouldn't redesign him at all.
Okay.
And then, okay, it's going to be controversial. I would bring back Jim Carrey as the Riddler. But just now that Jim Carrey can play levels and can do highs and lows and everything in between and has learned subtlety, he could be a great Riddler. Still give him the green suit, but allow him to play Jim Carrey now that he's matured and grown as an actor as opposed to Jim Carrey circa 1995.
But do you think putting him in that costume isn't going to maybe trigger that response back out of him, though?
I think that depending on the director, you could get a much more nuanced performance from him.
Okay.
So I don't know who I'd swap out. I don't know who I would swap out for that. Honestly, it might be Poison Ivy and Harley. Like, I don't know. It's a tough call. I'll have a eccentric 8 instead of a sinister 6. But yeah, okay. So fun questions, Chris. Did I cheat? Maybe. I don't know. Next question is from James Mullins. He's following up about the Batman cowl being made of cheese. He's saying, your comment about dyeing the cheese and carving it made me think of Michael Caine in Batman Begins. Master Wayne, we've ordered 10,000 wheels of Munster from Austria, as well as 5,000 charcuterie knives from Mexico to avoid suspicion. I also grabbed black food dye from Walmart, and then a montage of them carving cheese and forming it into a mold of Bruce's head. You guys are hilarious. Never change, James Mullins. Thanks, James. I think that's exactly how it's going to go in the Batman.
That's so bizarre.
Cheese cowl.
Cheese element things become a thing.
Cheese cowl. I think there is a cross-promotional opportunity that the Batman could have with, I don't know, who's a good maker of cheese?
Sargento.
Sure, yeah. And it could be black Batman cowl cheeses.
Anybody but Kraft, because no.
I know, they're the only ones I thought of, and I'm like, no, like Kraft isn't a fine maker of cheeses. All right, next message is from Oriel Cruz. It says, hey, Andy and gents, this is Oriel from Catalonia, Spain. I've been listening to your podcast for a long time, and I guess it's time to thank you for so many hours of entertainment. I wanted to congratulate you for your marriage, the baby coming, Brendan's baby, and Jamie's unique opinions. Yesterday, I finished reading the graphic novel Joker by Brian Azzarello and Lee Bermejo, and I loved it. I guess because it portrays a similar Joker as the one in my favorite Batman movie, The Dark Knight. My next read will be Batman Damned, and it's already on my night table. Do you know of any other comic book graphic novels like Joker that focuses more on the villain than on Batman? I'm really excited for The Batman and The Flash coming in 2022. Greetings, Oriel. Thank you, Oriel. Nice to meet you. Thanks for listening to the show. Thank you for finally writing us. That's fun. So what do you think, Jamie? Another comic book or graphic novel that focuses more on the villain than Batman?
You're going to have to help me out with this because I think you're the one that turned me on to it, and it was really good, but I don't remember the name. The one with Penguin?
Yep, that was the first one that came to mind. Let me see. I want to say it was called I thought it was called Penguin Pride and Prejudice.
That sounds right.
But let me look.
It's at least along those lines, if not dead on.
It's something, or it's a play on Pride and Prejudice. Pain and Prejudice. The Penguin.
There you go.
Pain and Prejudice.
That was a good story.
That's a great one. If you like the Penguin or you're interested in that, it's actually really good. One of these days I want to review it on the show. That's a great one. I mean, Catwoman has had how many freaking comic series?
Catwoman's anything but a villain at this point, though.
Well, this is accurate.
At least in the modern era, you'd almost have to go back into the 80s or before to get Catwoman as a real villain. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're going to go classic era, I would say even Vengeance of Bane kind of qualifies along.
Yeah, that's a great call.
Trying to think of another one that might fit the bill here.
I know.
Because
there's some good Ra's al Ghul ones.
Yeah, there's good. That's what I was just thinking. The Bride of the Demon and Son of the Demon.
Yes.
But those aren't necessarily totally focused on Ra's. Those are still
they're
very
still
much
Batman,
stories.
but they're still, I don't know. I think they're still worth checking out.
Sure. Death and the Maidens, man. That Guy Milks got me turned on to that almost a decade ago. That's one of the best Ra's stories ever written there, in my opinion.
All right. Well, there you go. There's some options. The Penguin one was the one that jumped to both of our minds first. So, Oriel, I think that's your top choice. Pain and Prejudice. Check it out. All right. Next message is from Brian B. It says, hey, guys, I hope the new year is going well. I don't like sending emails so close after my last one, but I felt the need to chime in on this one. After your pod about the erasing of the Snyderverse in the new Flash movie, I had an observation. Andy, while I know that you and Brendan aren't sports guys, I've had a few sports analogies go over your heads, but I'll use one that Jamie can attest to. If, for instance, Jim Harbaugh took over the Raiders, he wouldn't flush out 53 guys and start all over. He'd keep the ones that could help him win, like Carr, Crosby, and Waller, and build upon what did work during the last regime. This is exactly what's going on in the Flash movie. They're keeping what did work in the Snyderverse, Gal, Momoa, and Ezra, even though I wasn't a fan of his, and a few others, using that to build a new and better universe. Also, more importantly, as you guys mentioned, and the most important thing, Ben did not want to come back. While there were a few more points you made that I agreed with, I don't want to ramble on, but I wanted to add my 2 cents on this. It's a good idea that both honors and fixes the Snyder world at the same time. Secondly, what non-comic book movie do you defend that seems to get critically reviled? And on the flip side, what movie do you loathe or have never seen that everyone loves? Me personally, I'd go with Predator 2 that I will defend, and 2001 as a movie I can't deal with. As always, best of luck going forward, Brian B. Thanks, Brian. Okay, so even though I'm not a sports guy and I don't know the people you're talking about with the Raiders, I still understand the analogy. So thank you. Jamie, thoughts?
You keep the best pieces and you build better around the rest, I guess is the point he's making, which for the most part, I agree with that.
Yeah, I totally get that.
You have to keep the pieces in place that are successful and that are working for you. Mm-hmm. Of course, Good luck trying to explain that to Raiders fans after last night because they're all blaming Derek Carr for that loss, which is freaking ridiculous. But anyway, I see the point and I mostly agree with it.
Yeah, I get that. All right, a non-comic book movie that you love but everyone else hates.
Sucker Punch.
Okay.
I mean, not everyone hates it, but I think that movie is gravely misunderstood in the general population's opinion. And I love it. I adore it. It's one of my favorite movies.
All right. I mean, first of all, Brian, I think Predator 2 is pretty darn good. So
I do too. I really like Predator 2.
Yeah, so for what it's worth, I'm with you. I mean, I don't know it super well. I've only watched it like twice in my life, but I remember going, hey, wait a minute, this is better than it should be. As far as a movie that is critically reviled, I know there's probably 100 of them because I often have unpopular opinions. But
my answer for you would have been Lone Ranger right off the bat.
Oh, see there, that's a great choice. Lone Ranger. See, that's not the one that came to mind, but I freaking love the Lone Ranger. I love it so much. I'd watch it all the time. I still watch it all the time. And yeah, like, man, it gets so much hate for no reason. It's a great movie. The one that came to mind, just because, my wallpaper on my computer just scrolls through different images, is Jurassic Park 3. Gets no respect these days, and that movie is fun as hell.
To this date, I've still only seen that one time, but up until Jurassic World was released, it was my favorite of the movies, even more than one.
It's like just a quick and dirty fun time. Like, it's not trying to be anything super pretentious. It's just a good time.
It's not a deep movie, but it's entertaining.
Yeah, exactly. I love Jurassic Park 3. I'll watch it, and I hate that the internet has boiled it down just to that 1 second of the dream sequence where the raptor says Alan. Drives me nuts because I'm like, yeah, let's just ignore the whole rest of the movie just because of that one stupid joke. Okay. Anyway, I like Jurassic Park 3. I think it's a blast. I think it is no better or worse than any of the Jurassic sequels. A movie that everyone loves that you loathe, Jamie.
I mean, 2001's kind of on my
list. Me too. I could not get into it. I
recognize the influence that movie and that director has had on cinema since. But man, that movie bores the ever-loving tears out of me. I can't stand it. I can't. Visually, very well put together. It's a very masterfully directed film, but I can't with that movie or any other Kubrick movie for that matter.
Okay. I have a few of these too, but the one that just sprung to mind, Shrek. Ugh. It is ugly, it is unfunny, and storytelling is trash. I hate Shrek.
Ouch. I like Shrek, but I probably had to watch it a lot more than you because my kids were really young when that came out. So
probably. I just remember walking out of the theater being like, oh, God, that was awful. And then it became this big phenomenon. I'm like, what the hell movie did you guys see? Anything else?
I mean, I'm trying to figure out if I want to open this door or not.
Oh, no.
because we could do a whole episode just on this.
I mean, this is true. Like, that could be a fun Real Fans is like, I mean, we could take the positive route of like in defense of bad movies or in defense of movies that no one likes and do the first question. Maybe that's more positive instead of like riling up people by talking about beloved movies that we don't like.
I mean, I don't hate these movies, but for the life of me, I can't understand why they're held in the regard that they are. But like Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame,
I see what you're.
Spider-Man: No Way Home.
Okay.
I don't know, man.
They're all Marvel movies. You're so biased.
I know. I do have that tendency, but you know, if one comes along that I really like, I'll come out and say it. Shang-Chi. Have I mentioned how much I love that movie?
Yes,
Black
you
Panther,
have. You've used that as your
Winter
trump
Soldier,
card to
Cap
prove that you're
1,
not just hating everything Marvel.
Avengers 1, Thor: The Dark World. Okay, just back up to the first question. Thor: The Dark World. I don't understand why people hate that movie like they do.
But well, I mean, yeah, but I have plenty of comic book movie unpopular opinions, but he asked for non-comic.
Oh, he said non-comic.
Non-comic.
I'm sorry, my bad.
Because I love Ang Lee's Hulk. Yeah, want to fight?
No, I don't, because that's to this day I maintain that is the best looking Hulk we've ever seen on a screen.
Yep, I like it.
I like that movie, and I love the direction of it. The way they kind of do the comic panel transitions and stuff, I think it's brilliant.
Yep. All right, let's move on. Next message is from Eric Cajanto. It says, lads, I hope all is well in everyone's life. 2 questions. Sorry for being greedy. Number 1, thoughts on Batgirl staying on HBO Max. She's going to be an integral player and also have Keaton starring. Wouldn't it be better for her to go theatrical, especially since everyone else is? Secondly, if the Batman was to introduce a Robin, would it be better for them to skip straight to Jason Todd, as he's someone who would test Bruce, which I think is more fitting for the world that Reeves is trying to build? Thanks for taking time to read my messages. Keep up the great work, Aaron. Thank you, Aaron. First one we already talked about, actually. I completely understand everybody who wants it to go theatrical, and if I'm being honest, I want it to go theatrical too. It's a Batgirl movie. I want to see it in a theater. Do I understand the rationale of keeping it on HBO Max for now? I do, and I don't think it's that big a deal. So I also get that. Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, we pretty much covered those bases, I guess. So.
And then if the Batman were going to introduce a Robin, do you think they should go straight to Jason Todd?
I don't. I'm one of those guys that I really firmly believe and put my foot down in that I think if you're going to do one Robin, and the first Robin especially, it has to be Grayson. And that's not because I don't love Drake or want to see Jason Todd die or any of that stuff. It's just that I don't know. It feels weird to me to just skip over Dick Grayson and make it like he was never there. I understand his point about challenging Bruce, but I think you can do that with Dick as well as you can with Jason, just kind of in a different way. Mm-hmm. I mean, even Batman Forever, I mean, say what you will about that film, that was Dick Grayson, and he sort of challenged Bruce in that movie. So I think you can do that maybe in a little bit tighter or better or different way. But yeah, I think you have to go with Dick.
I am with you 100%. No, do not skip to Jason Todd. I would rather have a universe where Dick Grayson's the only Robin than jumping over him and going to Jason Todd. I don't think you do that. Dick Grayson is the Robin, at least the one you should start with. All right, thanks for the message, Aaron. Next message is from our pal Tom Fallows. He says, with the Batman coming out soon, and this being an early Batman in year 2, there have been many discussions about fans wanting a Batman more in his prime rather than younger or older. My question is, when do you think Batman is in his prime? I always feel like pre-Nightfall is prime Batman. Thanks, Tom Fallows. Thanks, Tom. What do you think, Jamie? What do you consider Batman in his prime?
If you assume that he effectively trains to become Batman in his late teens to early 20s and works on it for a while, he essentially establishes himself as Batman kind of in his mid-20s, like, first shows up in the costume and whatnot. I really think the early to mid-30s era is going to be his prime. So, not 10-ish years, give or take a year or two into it, I think would be where he's in his comfort zone at his best. peak physical, peak mental. That just feels to me like the right area. You know, I guess comic writers kind of have an unwritten thing that Batman's perpetually 39 years old is what they have him at now. Is that kind of
Yeah,
where the
something like
zone
that.
is? So I would say just a few years before that would be him at peak.
Yeah, I mean, I consider that too, as I feel like, yeah, I know that like the, not the target, but I guess the most accepted age is usually like 33 or something. But for me, I feel like he's a little older, especially because in my mind, Batman in his prime also includes at least one Robin, maybe more than one, and a Batgirl. So yeah, I would go more with like a 40-year-old Batman, or maybe 35. Between 35 and 40 years old feels like the right amount, where he has been Batman for at least 5 years, but he's not starting. His body isn't starting to give up on him. And I guess for what it's worth, I do think the Batman, at least the sequels, have the potential of doing that, of exploring Batman, quote unquote, in his prime. Yes, the first film is a Batman early in his career, but you know, if you just do a time jump of a couple years later, I think you could finally have that in a movie, and I hope that happens. And then Tom Fallows followed up. He said, because we're in the post Christmas blues. I know you guys love your holidays. So if you could have a Batman film based on a holiday, which ones would you like, and which villains would you use? I think we've answered similar questions like this before. So the first one I'll throw out, because I feel like I've thrown it out every time, is a Halloween Batman movie starring the Scarecrow.
I'm in line with that.
That is just a no-brainer. And then
If I can't have Scarecrow, I'll take Solomon Grundy for a Halloween story.
I would also watch that. That sounds great. And then a Mr. Freeze Christmas Batman movie.
That makes sense.
Feels like low-hanging fruit that we could do. That seems like it would make sense.
You know what I would like?
What would you like?
A Batgirl movie set at Christmas time. You think we can get that done?
I think you might be lucky. Any other Batman holidays that you could see as movies?
Poison Ivy with Arbor Day.
Right. I was trying not to do like just the long Halloween and go, oh, Poison Ivy, St. Patty's Day, green.
I mean, Firefly for 4th of July, maybe. Maybe.
I know. I was trying to think of, is there anyone for 4th of July?
That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to think of the less traditionally thought of or celebrated holidays, but like everybody celebrates them, but they don't really think about them.
Right. Because, yeah, exactly. Because like Halloween and Christmas, those are easy ones. And I think there are a lot of options for that. But yeah, like 4th of July could be really fun, but I just don't know which. I don't know. I mean, I think you could have fun with the Joker on the 4th of July. I could see him dressed as Uncle Sam causing mischief and, you know.
Yeah, I guess I can roll with that. Yeah. I'm trying to think of where Penguin would fit for a holiday. And I can't really find a good placement for him that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to see the Iceberg Lounge decorated for Christmas, but then we're back at Christmas again. So.
Yeah. No, that's true. I mean, and then the other thing, there was talk of that Mad Love movie. You could make a Mad Love movie for Valentine's Day.
Good call.
But yeah, I feel like Penguin doesn't really lend himself to a holiday, or Catwoman for that matter.
Bane for Labor Day, I guess. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Those are the biggies, I guess.
I mean, Riddler for St. Patrick's Day, I guess, could work.
Yeah, that's true. I was trying to not do Riddler for April Fools, because again, that's long Halloween. But yeah, bump it up to St. Patty's Day. He's wearing green.
If you go with the Riddler that was in the Tom King run of Batman, he looks like the damn Lucky Charms leprechaun anyway. So.
Oh, right. He does. This is true. There you go. All right, I'm good with that. Those are some pretty good options, okay? Scarecrow for Halloween, Mr. Freeze for Christmas, Joker and Harley for Valentine's Day, Riddler for St. Patty's Day. That's a pretty good lineup. 4th of July, I feel like we still haven't quite cracked, but I don't know. Nobody immediately lends themselves to that in my brain.
No.
That's why I just went with Joker, because he could work for anything. But
Yeah, he can.
anyway, fun question. Let's move forward. Next one is from Joshua Gonzalez. It says, "Hey, I discovered your podcast through my uncle. He mentioned you in his podcast where he and my aunt review movies. It's called the Peter Pan Syndrome. So far, I've made it to the Batman v Superman era, and I'm seriously loving all this Batman information that I'm learning from you and your friends on the show. I love Batman so much, and I'm very glad there's somebody I can listen to for Batman news all day at work. I have a great feeling that by the time I reach you talking about Matt Reeves' Batman, oh geez, I'll hear your excitement go through the roof because of the Riddler and Michael Giacchino scoring the film. I hope you're safe out there. I can't wait to see the Batman continue being you and never stop with Holy BatCast." From Joshua Gonzalez. Thank you, Joshua. I'm glad you found us. Who knows when you'll get to this episode or this message, but thank you for writing in. I'm definitely excited about Michael Giacchino scoring the Batman. That is true. So I think that years ago when people would say who should score a Batman movie, I would often say Michael Giacchino. So that makes sense. And
That cat does good work. There's no question about it.
He's great. And I'm excited about seeing the Riddler in the movie, even if so far I'm not super excited with what I'm seeing of this Riddler.
My excitement died for that movie a while ago, but I really, 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 really hope I sit down and watch that movie and walk out going, you know what, guys, I was wrong.
Yep, same. All right, next message is from our old pal Robert Reinecke. It says, "Hey, Holy BatCast. First, as the grandson of Wisconsin dairy farmers, I've got to say I'm slightly offended to you referring to Kraft singles as cheese, especially as it says right on the label, cheese product. More seriously, with us sitting about 7 weeks away from the Batman, I was wondering if you have any favorite Riddler stories that you'd like to share with the listeners, and do you think any of them may play a role in the film? Best wishes for a big bat year, Robert Reinecke." Thanks, Robert. You make a very valid point about Kraft singles not being cheese. You're right. It's not. I think we said something like that. You're never going to get a
contest from me on that. I don't even like having those damn things in my house.
Yeah, like, I think we said something about that being like, yeah, I don't like them. Like, it's not
when my
good.
dog was sick, the one that passed away last February, when she was sick, we had to buy some cheese singles to wrap up her medicine in to give them to her, like the painkillers.
Yeah.
I would not buy Kraft. I would buy generic singles.
Wow.
To give to the dog, because Kraft. I mean, first of all, Kraft owns the Patriots, which that makes him the devil in my opinion.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Robert Kraft owns the Patriots.
Huh. The more you know.
So I don't let their mac and cheese in my house. I know nothing. None of it.
I don't like Kraft mac and cheese either. It's so gross.
Well, first of all, if you've had my family's homemade mac and cheese, you'll understand why I turn my nose up at that box shit.
I'm sure. I have no doubt. It's for my entire childhood, I thought I didn't like mac and cheese because I thought it all tasted like Kraft mac and cheese. And then I finally had real mac and cheese. I was like, oh, wait, no, I like this. It's just the Kraft crap I don't like.
I should have you over for Thanksgiving or Christmas or one of the holidays where we make it, because my family's mac and cheese will make you slap your mama. It's wonderful.
Great, I'm in. So all that is to say, Robert, you're right. Apologies. Kraft singles are not cheese. But as a grandson of Wisconsin dairy farmers, have you ever been to Mars Cheese Castle? It's a magical place in Wisconsin that sells nothing but cheese, and it's wonderful.
It sells nothing but cheese?
Yeah, I hope it's still in business. It's been years since I've been, but oh man, Mars Cheese Castle is the jam.
This is like a really big place?
Yeah. It's like a cheese superstore in the middle of Wisconsin.
Because, Frankenmuth has a cheese store. It's pretty good size. I wouldn't say it's massive. But...
Oh, man. Okay. Anyway, the real question, Riddler stories. Jamie?
I really don't have a lot in the way of comics because for some reason he seems to be absent from most of the eras of Batman that I've read. Like the most recent thing that I've read with him was the War of Jokes and Riddles, and I wouldn't recommend that as being a good Riddler story.
Yeah.
Or Joker story, or Batman story, or anything else.
Or story.
Not a good story. Yeah. Man, I don't know. I really don't know where to go for that because of all of the Batman villains, I think he and Penguin are the two major ones that have been shortchanged as far as my general knowledge and experience.
Yep. It is crazy because for being one of my favorite Batman villains and comic book characters, there aren't a lot of specific stories I can point to. The big one that I've definitely recommended on this show before is Dark Knight, Dark City. That's a great arc, and ironically, Robert bought that for me for Christmas. So thanks, Robert. But yes, that's a great one. Dark Knight, Dark City. Check that out. And then I don't think it's like great, but I think it's pretty good, and that's 0 Year.
I've heard a lot of people talk about that one.
And I think that if any Riddler story might inform the new film, it would be 0 Year, because the Batsuit has some callbacks to the 0 Year look, so I wouldn't be shocked if there was some elements of that. And then it's not a Riddler story per se, but I love the Riddler's role in it is Hush, the actual graphic novel, not what they did in the movie. But in the actual graphic novel, I loved how the Riddler was portrayed in there, about how the whole time he always knew what was going on because he's the Riddler. He's the smartest guy. So I really like the big finale of Hush where the Riddler sort of lays everything out. All right. And then any episode of Batman 66, which definitely are going to inform the movie.
Yeah, that seems legit.
All right, one last email from our old pal, Ryan Lauer. Sorry, I laughed because I was like, I'm going to say his name wrong again. No, Ryan Lauer, like power. Turtle power, Ryan Lauer, Ryan. Anyway, it says, hey guys, wondering if you watch or have watched the straight-to-video Lego DC movies. They're all on HBO Max, and they're honestly pretty fun. They max out at about 75 minutes, and some do overstay their welcome a little, but mostly they're lighthearted DC goodness. My favorite, I think, is Batman Family Matters. Keep up the good work. A busy year is in store. Thank you, Ryan. Great to hear from you. And Ryan runs the Batman Book Club. He was nice enough to have me on a recent episode where we talked about Batman 455 to 457. Yes. Which was super fun. So if you guys are looking for some comic book talk, check that out. The irony is that when Ryan asked me to be on that show, he's like, pick a story. And I said, how about Dark Knight, Dark City? And he goes, I already have plans for that one. And I was like, damn you. So I had to pick another one. But anyway, thank you, Ryan. And question, have you watched the straight-to-video Lego DC movies, Jamie?
I've seen a couple of them, like maybe even the first two or so that they put out, and good fun. I mean, they're nothing that I found, like I couldn't tell you a single thing that happened in either one of them at this point, but I did buy them, I did watch them, I did like them. So, I mean, if you have younger viewers in the house that are into the superhero thing or you want to get into it, I think that's a wonderful gateway to do so.
Yeah, I agree.
I think they put just enough love and care into those movies to make it worthwhile for, that younger, maybe kind of 4 to 8-ish age range. I think it's just an ideal thing for them.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. I have watched a couple, but I honestly don't even remember the names of them because I can't keep the names straight. But these were ones that, I worked at WB years ago and then I left, but I had a buddy there and he would always just give me the Blu-rays for stuff that he knew I would like because he would just get them for free. And he gave me a bunch of these DC Lego movies. So I watched a few of them and yeah, I had a good time with them. They were perfect to turn on Saturday morning with my coffee. But again, I don't remember a lot about them other than I thought they were fun. And so yeah, for small kids, I think they're great. It's good to know that they're on HBO Max. So yeah, just another DC option out there. And I think Family Matters, I did not see it. But it was one that I did want to watch because it was a Bat Family movie. And I'm a sucker for that. So I appreciate that recommendation. I might check that out.
Ryan just did an episode of Anything Goes with Tim Rooney and Preston Willis, where they did a speculation about stuff that may be upcoming in Halloween Ends.
Oh, okay.
That was a fun episode. It was a good time listening to them talk about it because they pointed out some things that I did not even catch in the most recent Halloween movie.
Sweet.
So if you get a chance, check that one out.
All right. Well, there you go. Anyway, that's it. We're closing the Wayne Manor mailbox. If you've got a message or a question for us, you can send that to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. But that'll do it for this episode of the show. A little bit of Batgirl, a little bit of Justice Society, a little bit of Batman Beyond, and some questions. Feel good. A little something for everyone, I hope. Anyway, Jamie, thanks for joining me as always on this Sunday morning, as is tradition.
Yeah, it's my pleasure to be here, and everybody buckle up because you're going to hear me say something now that you're almost never going to hear me say again. Go Steelers, go Eagles.
All right. Great. All right. You can't follow Jamie on social media. He's too smart for that, but you can keep tuning into this show to hear his voice. But that's where we're going to wrap up this episode. Thank you guys, as always, for joining us. Thank you for downloading the show. Please do subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Visit holybatcast.com or find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Again, check out all the shows that are part of the network at rf4rm.com. A big thank you, as always, to Gaurav Venkateswar. He does our theme music. His work can be found at gvtunes.com. If you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, that email address, again, is holybatcast@rf4rm.com. But that'll do it. On behalf of Jamie, I've been Andy. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for. I really need a new pen.
Pen? What is this, 1973?
Yes. I always keep a little pen and paper so I can scratch down bad words and things and make my editing so much more efficient.
All right, then.
What else would I do? Otherwise, you'd hear typing or something.
Well, I guess.
All right. Instead, you just hear pen scratching, which a lot of listeners have noticed. As soon as there's a swear word, they're like, oh, and I can hear Andy jotting down the time.
Wow, these people have really good sound systems. They listen to podcasts on.
Yeah. I also have a really nice mic.